Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain a South Korean action horror film from 2019, titled Divine Fury. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The film opens with a young boy, Park Yong-hoo, who has been raised in a devout Catholic household. He has recently lost his mother and now lives with his father, Park Ji-young. Park Ji-young is a kind and dedicated traffic cop who strives to instill Christian values in his son, and it is revealed that Yong-hoo's mother passed away during his birth. One evening, as Park Ji-young prepares for his night shift, Yong-hoo bids him farewell, unaware that it will be their last moment together. Later that night, while on duty, Park Ji-young pulls over a car driven by a couple. He notices that the man is wearing a ring that glows red, and his eyes seem to be glowing too. The driver suddenly accelerates the car, dragging Park Ji-young along as he clings to the window, and the woman suddenly twists her face into a demonic grimace. Park Ji-young is knocked off from the car's window and eventually he is rushed to the hospital. Park Yong-hoo and his grandmother arrive at the hospital after receiving the bad news, and Yong-hoo is helpless as he watches his father lie motionless in bed. Desperate, he rushes to the Catholic church and begins to pray fervently. Father Kim, the church priest, joins him, asking what's wrong, and Yong-hoo explains his father's dire situation. He asks if praying harder will prompt God to intervene, and the priest assures him that it will. Together, they pray with all their might, but tragically, Park Ji-young takes his final breath, giving up his spirit. Park Ji-young appears to his son in a dream and advises him to always obey his grandmother and grow up to be a good person. As he places his hand on his son's hand, a bright light fills the room, and Yong-hoo wakes up from the dream, overcome with emotion, and begins to cry. The next day, at the funeral, Yong-hoo sees Father Kim, who has come to lead the mourners in prayer. Filled with grief and rage, he grabs a cross and stones him, lashing out at Father Kim and God, blaming them for his father's death. 20 years later, Park Yong-hoo has become a skilled MMA fighter and he is about to fight an American boxer. As they remove their clothes, Yong-hoo notices a tattoo of Christ on his opponent's back. Suddenly, he hears voices in his head telling him to revenge his father's death, and his eyes glows red. During the match, Yong-hoo knocks out his opponent with one punch and nearly beats him to death until the referee stops him. The scene shifts to Park Yong-hoo flying back to South Korea in his private jet. He has a dream where he sees his father's ghost and follows him to an empty space, but loses sight of him. Then, he comes across a cross, and a voice tells him that God killed his father and he should get revenge. In a rage, Yong-hoo takes the cross and throws it away, but it sticks to his palm and sets itself on fire. As he screams in pain, black smoke comes out of him, and he wakes up from the dream to find his palm bleeding. The next day, Yong-hoo is taken to the hospital, but despite treatment, the puncture marks on his palm didn't heal. Medical tests are done, and all the results show that Yong-hoo is in perfect health. Back at his apartment, Yong-hoo experiences sleep paralysis, where strange demonic creatures try to hurt him, but they run away after noticing his injured palm bleeding, and he is able to break free from the sleep paralysis. As his health keeps deteriorating, one of his drivers tells him about a 15-year-old girl shaman, Hong Jin, who can help him, but due to his distrust and lack of faith, Yong-hoo refuses. However, after experiencing another terrifying episode of night paralysis, he eventually decides to visit Hong Jin. Hong Jin, though blind, possesses a unique gift, the ability to see spirits, and as she senses Yong-hoo's presence, she saw a light within him. With a gentle tone, she reveals to Yong-hoo that his anger towards God has created an opening for malevolent forces to influence him. She warns that they whisper in his ears, is inciting him to violence and evil. Yong-hoo, curious about the mysterious injury on his palm, asks Hong Jin for guidance. She performs a traditional ritual, and a cross materializes in grains of rice. She directs Yong-hoo to a church located south of his house, instructing him to arrive at midnight. As Yong-hoo approaches the church, a flock of crows suddenly attacks him, but he manages to seek refuge in his car. Inside the church, Father An is performing an exorcism with the assistance of Father Choi. However, the possessed man breaks free from his restraint and attacks Father An. Father Choi intervenes, pulling the possessed man away from Father An, but gets attacked in the process. The possessed man vomits black goo on Father Choi's face, and reveal his demonic visage, which terrifies him, causing Father Choi to flee the church. The possessed man then charges at Father On, strangling him and nearly taking his life. Just in time, Yong-hoo intervenes, and in the process, he instinctively places his bloodied palm on the possessed man's face, which stops the demon. Finally, Father On throws holy water on the assailant, completing the exorcism. Yong-hoo asks Father On about his bloodied palm, and the priest tells him that he is blessed to have developed stigmata, a spontaneous appearance of the injured marks of the crucified Lord on a person's body like nail injuries on the palm, and it plays a crucial role in the exorcism. Yong-hoo is surprised when the priest also mentions that stigmata normally happens to a person with strong faith, which he lacks. Suddenly, he starts hearing voices in his head, telling him to kill the priest, and that he is lying. Father On managed to drive away the voices in Yong-hoo through prayers and offers to consecrate his home. Yong-hoo takes Father On to his apartment, and during the consecration, he places a cross, a subtle yet powerful symbol of protection, behind Yong-hoo's childhood photo before leaving. He goes back to his own apartment where he meets Father Choi waiting for him. He apologizes for his previous actions and tells Father On that he can't continue to be his assistant. Father On thanks him and tells him never to give up on his dream. Inside his apartment, as Father On removes his shirt, several bruises is seen on his back, presumably which he got during the previous exorcisms. Father On is a Vatican emissary sent to South Korea to monitor rising demonic activity. Shortly after his first meeting with Yong-hoo, he is informed on the phone by his senior that the Dark Bishop is in Seoul and is behind these demonic activities. The Dark Bishop is revealed to be Ji Shin, a wealthy nightclub owner. He owns a sophisticated nightclub called Babylon, with a logo that hints at its satanic ties. Hidden beneath the nightclub is a vast temple dedicated to the sacred serpent cult, where the Dark Bishop recruits victims for Satan's legion. The Dark Bishop possesses immense satanic powers, capable of reading and controlling the minds of the weak and sinful. His powers are first displayed when he is threatened by a gangster. Unbeknownst to the gangster, Ji Shin pierces his palm with a black ring, draws a serpent with his blood, and his eyes glows red. Under the devil's influence, he skillfully sows mistrust in the gangster's mind against his partner, Dae Hwan. The gangster tortures and kills Dae Hwan, despite his pleas of innocence. Shortly thereafter, the gangster himself is pursued by the ghost of his dead partner in an empty parking lot and dies a gruesome death. The Dark Bishop is behind the gangster's demise, and he offers the gangster's soul to the devil in exchange for his own eternal youth. Meanwhile, Yong-hoo sleeps peacefully under the cross protection, which the priest left in his apartment during the consecration. The next morning, Yong-hoo notices the cross and chucks it into his toilet, but he later retrieves, cleans, and drops it outside Father On's door after getting his address from one of the priests. The Central Archdiocese requests Father On to perform an exorcism on one of their churchgoers, a young lady called Soo-jin who is recently possessed by a dark entity. On the other hand, without the cross, Yong-hoo experiences another sleep paralysis, and the next morning, he visits Father On. The priest offers Yong-hoo a priceless rosary blessed by the Pope, instructing him to put it in his bedroom. Out of appreciation, Yong-hoo takes Father On alone to his next place of exorcism, since Father Choi is traumatized by the first exorcism and decides to quit. As Father On walks into the house, Yong-hoo, remembering what his father told him when he was little about helping the weak, decides to join Father On for the exorcism. The mother of Soo-jin leads them to her room, and Father On draws a cross with charcoal to prevent the demon from escaping. However, as the exorcism commences, Father On notices that the Holy Cross has no effect on the young lady, unlike his first exorcism. The young lady tells the priest that she isn't possessed and warns him not to believe whatever her mother said about her. As they're about to leave, Father On realizes that each demon is different, and the one inside her has gone deep into her soul to deceive them. It can withstand being touched by something holy but not if it enters her body. Father On brings out a bottle of holy water and instructs Yong-hoo to pin her down to restrict her movement. He then pours the holy water into her mouth, and the demon begins to manifest after a white smoke comes out of the lady's mouth. The possessed lady vomits blood onto her bed, and as Father On tries to pray, he is lifted up and tossed away by the lady. Yong-hu attacks her, but she lifts herself and Yong-hu to the ceiling, and reveals to him that she is the demon that possessed the couple who killed his dad. Out of rage, Yong-hu gains control and begins to strangle the possessed lady, but Father On intervenes, and pull Yong-hu away. The possessed lady begins to act like a maniac, screaming aloud for Yong-hu to kill the priest, and his eyes begins to turn red. Yong-hu, who has calmed down, places his bloodied palm on the possessed lady's head, causing her to scream, and Father On completes the exorcism by pouring holy water on her. Father On then goes through the young lady's personal effects and discovers photos of her and Ji-shin. He realizes that Ji-shin is the dark bishop he's been looking for, who had charmed and seduced Su-jin. The dark bishop notices blood flowing out of his eyes, realizing he's losing control over Su-jin and performs satanic rites to repossess her. However, Father On manages to finally wrest her back and save her. The dark bishop loses the battle but realizes that there's a churchman who's trying to undo his evil plans. At St. Mary's orphanage in Payu, a lonely boy named Ho-suk is bullied by his peers. After they storm off to avoid detection by the nuns, the dark bishop appears before the crying Ho-suk and offers to help. But instead, he recites satanic rites and possesses the boy's innocent soul. The dark bishop then sets out to separate Yong-hu from Father On. Disguising himself as Father Choi, he approached Yong-hu in a parking lot and sows mistrust in his mind. He tells Yong-hu that Father On is a demon using him and shows him his injured palm, similar to Yong-hu's, and warn him not to end up like him before leaving. Meanwhile, Father On receives a call from Mother Superior at the St. Mary's Orphanage home, where she reports the case of the possessed boy. Father On calls Yong-hu to accompany him to the orphanage, but Yong-hu, still under the influence of the dark bishop's lies, refuses to answer. Father On drives to the orphanage alone and finds the possessed boy, surrounded by the praying nuns. He instructs them to leave, but Sister Angela decides to stay with him. Father On manages to extract the demon's name from the boy and drives away the evil spirit. Thinking the ordeal is over, the boy suddenly lets out a loud scream, and it is revealed that he is possessed by 666 evil spirits. Meanwhile, Yong-hu is about to sign a contract with a company for the upcoming MMA match, but he declined and calls Father On instead. In the orphanage basement, a weary Father On is attacked by the possessed boy and beaten until he loses consciousness. Sister Angela intervenes but is also attacked by the possessed boy, who is on the verge of ending her life. Yong-hu intervenes just in time, managing to subdue the possessed boy and placing his bloodied palm on his face. He completes the exorcism by pouring holy water on him, setting the boy free. After regaining consciousness, Father On thanks Yong-hu for saving them, followed by the nuns, accompanied by a swarm of kids, leaving Yong-hu in tears of happiness. Later that night, the dark bishop possesses a dog in the orphanage and kills Ho-suk. He offers his soul to the devil and in return, is gifted with a poisonous fang. After receiving the shocking news, Father On and Yong-hu visit the morgue to see Ho-suk's body. Suddenly, the lights start flickering, and Yong-hu sees Ji-shin, and goes after him. However, the dark bishop uses his powers of illusion to separate the two and distract Father On with Ho-suk's body, which appears to be alive. The dark bishop attacks Father On from behind, and Yong-hu rush back to see Father On threatened with the poisonous foam. Yong-hu is asked to deny the Trinity, and just as he is about to do so, Father On says a secret prayer for Yong-hu. He then pierced himself with the poisonous foam, and the dark bishop disappears into the shadows. Yong-hu rushed the dying Father On to his residence, where Father Choi tends to his mentor with prayers. Before Yong-hu leaves, Father On gives him a cross, and Father Choi gifts him a clergy shirt blessed by the Pope. In a surprising turn of events, Yong-hu dresses up as a clergyman to battle the dark bishop. He extracts information about Ji-shin's sanctuary from his former lover, Su-jin, and rushed to Babylon. Meanwhile, the dark bishop has transformed his men into a legion of demons, who attack Yong-hu as he enters the nightclub. He uses his MMA skills and the power of the stigmata to destroy the forces of evil barring his way. Meanwhile, the Dark Bishop completes a satanic ritual as instructed by the devil and stabs his heart. He falls into the pool and transforms into a scaly demon-like creature with fangs and claws. The battle between Yong-Hu and the demonic creature intensifies, with the creature almost defeating Yong-Hu, leaving him nearly unconscious after he was bitten. Suddenly, Yong-Hu is transported to another realm, where he meets his father's spirit. His father gifts him a holy ball of flame and sends him back to the battle, and Yong-Hu awakens with his hand now a flaming ball of fire. In a classically duel, Yong-Hu gains the upper hand, and beats the demonic creature. He crushes the cross given by Father On in his bloodied palm and delivers a final blow, which destroys the Dark Bishop. Yong-Hu then removes the poisonous fang from the bishop's stomach and crushes it. As he stands over the dying Ji-Shin, the sacred serpent, comprising of headless limbs and torsos, arises from the dark pool and drags Ji-Shin into the netherworld. Yong-Hu rushes back to Father On's apartment to find him fully recovered, and the movie concludes with a heartfelt hug between the two, and Father On thanks Yong-Hu once again. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Divine Fury from 2019. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.